The stories that are coming out, talk about wide receivers are divas.
A lot of weird stuff going on with the Vikings right now.
They're not in the business of snitching. They're in the business of putting lipstick on that pig. That is very helpful. Near-death experience, yes.
Cut to it, cut to it. Let's get down to it. Cut to it, cut to it, cut to it. Let's get down to it.
Good morning, good morning. Well, what's going on, Coley? How are you, buddy?
I can't complain. What's going on with you, 89?
I can complain. I could complain a lot.
We'll do it then.
All right. Well, I guess I got to say a disclaimer first with this one, just because, there's this category of people that are falling into this was a bad move, this was a good move, right? How dare they? I'm done with the Panthers. I'm this, I'm that. So, I'm not necessarily done with the Panthers. I'm not giving them an out. I'm also not, I'm not burying them. I'm just trying to look at this with a broad brush, right? Just a broad brush of like the why. I've really started to kind of enjoy this. I don't believe what I say. I'm just kind of throwing it out there, right? Just because people are looking at times people look at me as like, do you think this is good or bad? Sometimes you just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of I want to break down this little move by the Carolina Panthers, right? So the Carolina Panthers, Friday afternoon, they move up from 9th all the way up to the first overall pick. They gave away first round draft pick, right? They gave,
they gave around 2 2s and a 3.
Yes.
And DJ Moore.
No, they gave first overall, so they gave him the 9th pick.
Yeah.
Right? Then they gave him a second round pick in 2023.
Yep.
Then they gave him a first round pick 2024.
Yeah.
And then they gave him a second round pick in 2025. And then lastly, also DJ Moore. Okay. Now, why I don't necessarily really have a problem with the first round pick in 2024, because generally you're giving away next year's pick because you have the belief that what we're doing right now, that is going to work out to where we're going to be in the low 20s picking next year. Now that's very optimistic. Yeah. That's the hope. That's being optimistic. That's what the New Orleans Saints believed when they gave up a pick, right? To get Chris Olave, to move up to get Chris Olave. I believe. I don't remember exactly which pick. Someone will correct me, and that's fine. Thank you. I don't always remember every single guy and every single person. I apologize. But I am interested at breaking down first. Let's break down the DJ Moore thing. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people are, you let go of one of our best wide receivers. Yes, that is true. He was one of the best wide receivers for the Carolina Panthers on the current roster today. Will that change? I hope it changes. You don't want your best player to no longer be here and never ever get anything close or better than him, right? And I'm not talking about the all-time list and all that. I'm just talking about you trade away DJ Moore. Hopefully you can replace a guy with the same amount of productivity, even or better. Never worse. Not intentionally.
Right.
Right. So what were your thoughts before we break down the DJ Moore trade and what he is?
I felt like the Panthers were going to be aggressive like this the second they decided on Frank Reich, especially if you think of how Frank Reich's last couple of years have gone in Indianapolis. They kept playing this kind of like Carolina, this mediocre quarterback roulette. And I think Frank Reich was like, enough. We're either going to go get this top guy or we're going to get a Derek Carr or an Aaron Rodgers. And they weren't really heavy in either of those conversations. So if you start looking, okay, well, they're not going to go into the season with no quarterback. So they have to be looking at the top of the draft. The Bears made it very for sale. And I think DJ Moore was the differentiating piece between what the Panthers could offer and what other teams could offer. Because I'm sure other teams, even if you're talking about the Colts again, moving up from 4 to 1, I'm sure it was a very similar trade package in terms of picks. But I'm sure that the wide receiver they were floating was Michael Pittman versus DJ Moore, which I would also lean DJ Moore is a little bit better than Michael Pittman. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. So yeah, I really like it from both teams. I've seen a lot of, especially people out of Chicago, saying they won this deal handedly, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think the Panthers really like one guy at the top of the draft, and they went and they said, enough, we need a quarterback.
I think, Chicago is extremely happy about that. But I think it's also made things very interesting for Chase Claypool.
Yeah.
Right? Because you got Mooney, he's a speedster. He's going to push and put pressure onto the defense. And you got DJ Moore, who's more of an intermediate route runner. He's not a speedster. He's not going to really run by anybody. Like Mooney, when you compare him, like he's not notoriously known for his 40 time. Like when you go DJ Moore, you don't go, oh man, I put him in this category with all the speed guys.
So I got the stat from Brad Spielberger. DJ Moore will help Justin Field attack the intermediate area of the field, like you're saying. Fields led the NFL with a 67% completion percentage on throws 10 to 19 yards downfield. Since 2019, DJ Moore is second in targets in that intermediate 10 to 19 yards downfield. So it really does feel like a perfect match for the Bears.
Yeah, it does. I am going to be interested to see how and what they do around Justin Fields and DJ Moore now to add. David Montgomery's hitting free agency with the running game, knowing that the running game helps your young quarterback and that offensive line. But then also, too, I want to kind of break down, like I said, what are we losing? Right. And so this is something that I was seeing all the people in their comments about this is terrible. This is that. And I asked myself, right, again, why is this a good thing or bad thing? And I said, I said to myself, what are we losing? So I started doing a little bit of investigating, right? So I just looked at, we lost our best wide receiver off our roster from last year. However, there have been games that DJ Moore has been hit or miss, right? And I don't believe all of it is his fault. Not saying it's his fault. Let me take you down a list of things that are not his fault that DJ Moore has experienced. In 2022, he was ranked the 18th best wide receiver in yardage. Okay? Ranked 18th with 888 yards. That's 18th. What is not his fault? Ben McAdoo, the offensive coordinator. He wasn't consistent and he wasn't super duper creative. Is that fault? Am I going out? Am I reaching with this statement?
No, I mean, the entire coaching staff shifted in the middle of the season. So that's always hard on everybody. So yeah,
okay.
I don't think that's crazy.
All right. Up and down with the quarterback, lack of starter, consistency. Head coach is fired.
Yeah.
That's an adjustment, right? Everybody has to figure it out. Your number 2 wide receiver. I don't know if it's when he was chosen, was released by the Arizona Cardinals, where Robbie Moore was sent to Arizona,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So same person, chosen Robbie Anderson. He was traded away for other things. One of the other things too, though, cornerbacks are out. For 2 years now, JC Horn was injured, right? Not there the whole time. Then Dante Jackson gets hurt. Now you're practicing ones versus ones, because all teams do ones versus ones at some point throughout the week. Ones versus ones. You're not going against JC Horn, a young, talented corner that's physical, that will read your coverages. You're not going against Dante Jackson, who's quick, he's learning, he's improving, he's getting better. You're going against backups. That does some things to you. That does stunt your growth. That does take away from you getting better and improving. Know it for a fact. Jordan Gross learned so much going against Julius Peppers, Mike Rucker, Brinson Buckner, old Patriot Slater. Mm-hmm. Right? He was at Carolina for a little bit. He's a high school coach down in South Carolina, I believe, doing a great job. Just constantly going against guys. Al Wallace. When you're not going against starters, you're going against backups. That's all I'm going to say.
Does it lower your preparedness? Does it lower your intensity level for like actual games?
No, it doesn't lower it. You're just not getting starter reps.
It's not iron on iron.
It's not iron on iron. It's you're sharpening, but it's not sharpening it to the level Jinsu, right?
Right.
It's not splitting follicle hairs down the middle because it's so fine. Like that. Right. That's what it does. Right? But here are the things that were in his control that were very interesting when I went down, right? So I look at 2022, again, 88 yards, that's ranked 18. First downs, only 40. That's ranked 30th. I'm sorry, 44. I apologize. 44. Missed forced tackles, which is important. 9. That's ranked 21st. Yak or rack yards, only 191, which is ranked 54th. And contested targets and catches. 23 contested targets. That's ranked 25th. And 13 contested catches. That's ranked 17th. Okay, in these 44, right, there are numbers, like statistically, there are guys, if I mention, like who has these numbers, you're like, oh, wow. Oh, my bad. Right? I like DJ Moore. But I'm also going, okay, what did the Carolina Panthers get rid of, and what are they gaining and what are they losing? Well, obviously they haven't gained anything yet. But they are losing some production. I'm just saying, what type of production are they losing? And this is year to year. They are losing the 18th best yardage receiver in the game. They're also losing the 30th best first down catching wide receiver. They're also losing the 54th best yak player of last year. Okay? 2020. I would say that was a pretty darn good year for him because he was ranked top 10 in yardage. Mm-hmm. Top 10. You know how many first downs he had? 53. Ranked 18th. Can I tell you something in that? Michael Pittman was only 21st. And I'm pointing that out to show you. No, I'm sorry. Michael Pittman, actually last year, Michael Pittman with the Colts was actually ranked ahead of DJ Moore. And I'm using a guy that we could say both teams weren't great. Both teams had quarterback issue. So if Michael Pittman, who we all know can't outrun his shadow, he's a possession guy. If Michael Pittman is up there, all I'm saying is before you run to the hills and make it seem like we lost Jerry Rice, right? Just, that's all I'm saying. But here's the crazy part. 2020, you know who was ranked ahead in first downs, who had 55 first downs? Juju Smith-Schuster.
I can see that.
But would you say Juju Smith-Schuster is a more complete receiver than DJ Moore?
No.
I wouldn't.
No.
Here's the other part. Missed forced tackles. His best year, 2020. One of his better years.
Yeah.
He only had 15.
Yeah, that seems to be not what he's known for.
And so I'm breaking all this down to kind of, and I'll follow up with why, and it goes with my post as well. Yak or Yak, Rack or Yak, 390. Now I would like to say Cole Beasley had 409. And we all know Cole Beasley ain't outrunning his shadow neither.
No, but it's also like quickness in short areas is what I think of with Cole Beasley.
Yes.
Because like when you're saying like missed tackles and Yak, a guy I think of who probably doesn't rank highly in either would be like Tyler Lockett. When he sees a tackle coming, he just hits the ground. He's not trying to break a tackle. You know what I mean? So, but I think we all agree he's a really good receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. But would you put DJ Moore or Tyler Lockett? I would say DJ slightly better than him.
I agree. But that's where I'm trying to be like, what do you think the most valuable of all these attributes is?
Well, but they're all value. I'm just stating like before we stand on the balcony or jump. Let's be careful on let's figure out what we are pitchforking about.
Do you think people are, and you're
overreacting?
No, not even that. But do you think people are like, oh no, we traded DJ Moore versus, oh no, we're drafting a quarterback and we have no one for him to throw it to now?
We'll get into that. Yes, I do. But you have to be able to handle the short-term problems to have that long-term gain versus, no, man, I don't want long-term gain because I don't want the short-term problems. Well, then you're not going to get what you're looking for.
For sure.
Which is ultimately a competitive football team, which led by a quarterback. I assume, allegedly, right? But then, contested targets, 23, contested catches, 11. And so I did this exercise for myself more than anything. Is I'm sitting there going, man, what do we lose with DJ Moore? We lose a dynamic football player. But we're not losing like it isn't, oh no, we're done, Zoe. Nothing, we're never going to win a football game again. Right? This is where scheming, this is where your scouting department must come in. This is where the process in which why you're doing it. Like you got to have all these contingency plans to know if we keep DJ and we don't move up, what's going to happen? And we'll get into that. But then here's the crazy part on this yak, though, that really sent me down a rabbit hole, bro. Man, we're talking about Stephon Diggs. We're talking about Deebo Samuels, Devontae Adams. Man, Devontae Adams this year had 660 yards of yak, right? First downs, 82. Like there is a huge gap when we're talking about possibly drafting allegedly a better quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Then what are you actually giving him? And I believe that the Carolina Panthers with this new coaching staff is saying we need speed. We need to get faster. The type of offense that we're going to run, we must pressure and press the offense. The defense. We must press. We must pressure the defense.
Is it even as much like a philosophical change as much as it was?
Absolutely, it's everything.
This is just what the pick costs to get.
Well, it's this. This is what the pick costs to have a change, but to put us in the running, we got to move. We got to move on, right? And we got to give them something that they know, like some of the things that they're going to have to do. Like, why did the Carolina Panthers give up so much? So if we go down the list of what all these guys need, the Panthers need a quarterback, a cornerback, and a vertical pressing, catching tight end. Ian Thomas is a tight end by position. He is not a tight end in the category. When you line him up with the list of tight ends in the league right now, you go Travis Kelce, George Kittle, right? Who else? Mark Andrews, Mike Gesicki. Like, you put all of these guys, DJ Hockley's. Like, you put all Hockley's is the referee. I got all kind of names. Look, we got a lot of babies being born off two different individuals, right? Hawkinson, right? You got all these different guys. Evan Ingram. Like, when you have a legitimate vertical threat from the tight end position, it adds another element to your offense. And we don't have that element right here in Carolina yet, as of yet. We haven't had it since Greg Olsen, and we still don't have it. Right? The Houston Texans, they need a quarterback, offensive lineman, D lineman.
A football team, yeah.
Yes. Huh?
They need a football team, yeah.
Yeah, right. Here's why the Carolina Panthers made that move. There's two teams that on paper scare me, that have the ability of why Carolina moved up. Number 3 pick, the Arizona Cardinals. Whether the Arizona Cardinals want to or not, they will not get a quarterback.
Right. Because
they have it already in Kyler Murray. Okay? Number 4, the Colts, they need a quarterback, wide receiver, and offensive line. Number 5, the Seattle Seahawks, edge rusher, D lineman, and a quarterback. That's where it gets. Look, 4 and 5 need a quarterback. Now, on paper and contract-wise, number 6, the Detroit Lions need a cornerback, a defensive back, D lineman, linebacker. Now, whether they need a quarterback, Jared Goff services them well, and they're happy with him, as they say on paper. So at number 6, 3 and 6 make me worry, and that's why the Carolina Panthers move up, because 3 doesn't need a quarterback. So guess what? They're available.
Right.
They're listening. Hey, what you got? What you offering? And number 6, the Detroit Lions. They don't need to get a defensive corner at 6 that won't be available at 9 or 10 or 11, like a Cam Smith, a Devin Witherspoon, a Christian Gonzalez. Mm-hmm. Those guys will be there at 6. Hell, they may be there at 11 and 12.
Definitely.
Just because this quarterback race has people all up in arms, which means some teams can sneak in and get a Zay Jones, right? They can sneak in and get a Christian Gonzalez in the 20s because of how there's a limited amount of people in quarterbacks. And here's what I mean. The 3 or 4 quarterbacks that people are talking about, you either get them or you wait till the 4th round to get a Davis Mills. How's that working out for the Houston Texans? so well that they're looking for a new one, right? Who's this year's Brock Purdy? We don't know, but that means you have to go through the whole draft to get to Mr. Irrelevant.
That'd be a good segment right before the draft. Who are we calling as our late round guy who's actually going to be good?
Yeah. Well, that also means you got to have some good darn coaches too, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So 3 and 6 is that area where the Carolina Panthers move up in the philosophy of, why did we move up? We moved up because we have the next 40 plus days, like everyone else has, to figure out which guy do we like. When they draft a guy, they're going to say, this is the guy we wanted the whole time.
So you think, obviously they're going to take the next 40 days, even if they have their guy, to make sure it's their guy. But you think they made that move not knowing who they actually want?
No, I think they made that move, right? This is just my opinion on when you move up. You make the move to make the best educated guess without being rushed, right? You don't want to be, if you're 3 and you think the number one team like the Chicago Bears, are they getting a quarterback? They may change. What about the Chicago Bears would have done this exact same thing, except now they did it with the Seattle Seahawks. It would have been like, what? So the Carolina Panthers said, you know what? We're not letting this happen. We're not falling asleep at the wheel, because what you can't do is be so far down in 9, fall in love, right? And I got kids, so you fall in love, you're going to ask Mary Jo or Keisha to the dance. Wait too late, and somebody else comes in and asks her to the dance. And she's going to say, well, I was waiting. I didn't think you were going to ask me. It's 3 days before the dance, so I got this dress. I can't wait on you all day, Carolina, or whoever it is. So they sit up at the top now and they go, hey, we're in the driver's seat. We get to make the best decision, educated decision. But here's what you got to do in your educated decision, man. You got to dig deeper. These 40 days are time to dig deeper, to have all the answers you need, all the questions you need, have not the right answer, but an answer that is good enough for you and your organization to feel confident in making the pick with your guy. So here's some categories in which they're going to be, all these teams are looking at in this draft process, especially at quarterback. They're looking at how's the kid's mental? Is he durable? Is he accountable? Does he have passion and toughness? And what's his character like? Right? Mental. How does the player learn the best? If we're talking about quarterback, how does he retain the playbook? Did they have a playbook of pitchers? Did they have a playbook of numbers? Were they old West Coast? Or were they the Tennessee Volunteers, where it's really a condensed playbook and it's a lot of gadget type of stuff? How does he handle multiple things being thrown at him all at once? How does he learn, and what does he do, and how do you push his buttons? And we're not looking for because here's what you're going to hear out of all these guys. Unless you're a turd ball, you're not going to hear this, right? But you're going to hear, great kid, loves to learn. Nobody is going to say, hey, this quarterback that y'all thinking about drafting number 1, like Ryan Leaf, he's not a very good character person. They're not going to screw up there because they want other kids to come to their school, right, to get drafted as a potential first overall or second or top 5 pick like everybody else. They're not going to say, hey, man, this kid is, they're not going to say that. They're not in the business of snitching. They're in the business of putting lipstick on that pig.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it over and over, year after year. Okay? Durability. What's his injury history? Does he miss for minor issues in practice, or can or will he push through? Does he prepare to play and take care of his body? You got to ask those questions. You got to ask a trusted source who's off the record going to say, hey, man, I don't know. He's a soft tissue. He's a soft tissue guy. Okay? Accountability. Is he reliable? Is he on time? Does he do what is asked of him in terms of academics? And how does he problem solve? Okay? And this is one I really love, man, that I've just been kind of thinking about. The last two. Passion and toughness. Everybody loves to throw passion and toughness out there. Is he a team first guy? And we're talking about quarterback. Not talking about wide receivers, not talking about tight ends, talking about quarterbacks, guys who are the franchise. How does he handle when things get tough? Does he lose his love for the game based on the circumstances of the issue? And then, and this is where I say passion. Does he love football, or does he love what football provides for him? You got to talk to enough people to know if a guy loves football or not. Or is he in it for the glitz and glamour?
Is that necessarily a bad thing every time?
It's not a bad thing. But you got to discover what you're working with, right?
Definitely.
Right? You got to discover. Like, this may sound so silly, but you may have a guy who's a vegetarian. Right? I'm just throwing that. And somebody, why does that mean anything? Well, a vegetarian eats differently, so you got to make sure that you have somebody on staff or somebody that's capable, right? It's like going to a restaurant. And they ask, do anybody have any sensitivities or allergies? You just got to know you got to know it.
The few years ago, the Philadelphia 76ers took someone in the first round, didn't know he had a peanut allergy, nearly killed him. So yeah, you do need to know that.
Okay, that's very helpful. Near-death experience, yes. And obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles have missed on a lot of draft picks on knowing, does he like to play basketball or what basketball can provide him? Shall I name a name?
I think everyone is well aware.
Okay. In case some people don't, they traded him to the Brooklyn Nets.
Sure did.
Okay. And here's the last part that I think is extremely important with the times we're in right now. Character. Now, I'm a character too now, so don't I'm not sitting here as I'm not sitting here as Mr. Untouchable. I'm not. But here's the thing that I pulled out of that I think is extremely important, especially with some of the basketball people right down the street, about an hour flight down in Memphis, Grizzlies. Is he a follower that is easily influenced away from the building? And here's the most important part about something someone told me. And bro, I'll let it sit. Would you stand on the table for this guy and put your name on him? Think about that. Would you stand on the table? That means I'm going to stand on the table and say, if this kid doesn't work out, go ahead and let me go. Man, I don't know if a lot of people are willing to do that. Is he a follower and easily influenced by the people around him away from the building? And I'll say it, Ja Morant. Ja Morant is a fantastic talent, bro,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not making some good decisions. And this is what some teams pass. I don't know basketball other than the Clippers, all right? I don't really watch basketball until the playoffs. But I'm assuming that the Memphis Grizzlies, did they have the first overall pick when Ja Morant was coming out?
Second.
Okay. So somebody picked someone else for a reason. The first pick was picked, and it wasn't Ja Morant because the first team said for their organization, something about Ja Morant, we prefer not to.
It was more he wasn't like a 6'9" monster.
Bro, I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I'm also just throwing it
sure.
out there.
For sure.
Right? And you're talking about, obviously, you're talking about
Zion.
Yeah, Zion.
Yeah.
Zion Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So let me ask you, how better would the Pelicans be if they had Ja Morant on their team than Zion Williams?
It's hard to say. When Zion plays, he's been better.
Okay, how much has he played?
The durability part, but the Pelicans also, they've had a lot of players in and out. So who's to say that wouldn't? Morant's been in and out the last couple of years too. So would he be worse on the Pelicans injury wise?
I would say, other than these issues, he would be a lot healthier than Zion Williams.
But what I'm saying is the Pelican, they can't keep Brandon Ingram healthy. They can't keep a lot of guys healthy. That's where it's
agree.
Is it their training staff, and would they have messed up Ja in a different way?
Possibly.
And would the outside influences of New Orleans been better for Ja Morant than Memphis? I don't know. Who's to say?
Hey, but you get my point, right?
Absolutely.
These are some of the things that are going on. And so when you look at this quarterback situation, they're going to sit here and take their time. And not just the Carolina Panthers. Everyone is going to sit there and take their time and say, hey, based on our offense, who do we need to do? Now, what this does do when you move away DJ Moore, it stresses you have two areas you're going to have to move mountains for. Free agency and the draft, your scouting department. Your scouting department for free agents, who you're bringing in, and your scouting department for lower round picks. Right? You still have a second. So that second has to be somebody who stretches the field. If you don't get them in free agency. So that goes to the free agent category and draft, where I look at this offense, put up that slide that shows this offense. This offense, right? It ain't a lot of great. Look at this. Quarterback rating, 28. That's 31st. Right? Quarterback percentage, 31st. Passing yards per game, 29th. First down production, 28th. That's weapons, yes. But those weapons are DJ Moore included. But those also are the people who are delivering the ball.
I would say this makes it seem more impressive how many first downs DJ Moore got when the team in general just wasn't really making them that often.
Correct. They were not. And yes, it was impressive. But not impressive enough to say we're going to keep DJ Moore and then we're going to hopefully figure out if one of these quarterbacks that we're falling in love with or we're thinking that is a possibility. They're making sure that they don't miss any opportunity to get the guy they feel is best qualified on their investigating, on their process, and watching their pro days.
Just from the Panthers' perspective, obviously I don't think the Bears would have done this, but last year at the trade deadline, it came out that the Panthers turned down a trade of a bunch of picks for Brian Burns.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think for a young quarterback and for where the Panthers are headed, where they're at with their franchise right now, it'd be more beneficial to have DJ Moore than Brian Burns if they could have put Burns in this trade to Chicago instead?
Here's why you don't trade Brian Burns. Is it safe to say that you could possibly get lucky and replace DJ Moore production? Yes. Who can you replace Brian Burns with?
Me? I don't know.
Yeah. That's why you don't trade away those picks, because I'm asking, is there a Brian Burns in this year's draft?
Maybe.
Okay. What if there is not?
Well, it's also they're probably going to go in the top 10 more often than not, and you're taking a quarterback in the top 10. So that's part of the problem.
Yes. So you got to pick one or the other.
Definitely.
But you don't have to, because he's on your team. And that's why I said there's no Julius Peppers in this draft. That you say, I'd rather have this player versus this quarterback. Because, right, you got C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis, and then you got Anthony Richardson. And then after that, it's a significant drop-off. And I believe Frank Wright has experienced this before. Let's go with the fill-in, plug-and-play guy. Here's the other part. If you sit at 9 or 10, and you get a lesser quarterback, with that lesser quarterback, that means you have to go on the free agency, get a guy that's going to play now, and that lesser quarterback will be sitting for a year or two to figure out, to get him up to speed to the pro level. Hence, that means you have to be around long enough to reap the benefits of that. Yes, there's always outliers, but then what happens if you don't? You know, Lamar Jackson was the 32nd quarterback pick, MVP of the league. Fantastic. Okay. Is there Lamar Jackson in this draft that you can wait till the fall of 32?
Probably not, no.
Okay. So that'll probably get you fired then.
From the Chicago side of things, they're sitting at 9 right now. Obviously, they do need offensive line help, and they should have their pick, like, of the top guys. But JSN might be sitting there. Zay Flowers might be sitting there. Should they just keep adding to this passing attack? You brought up Claypool before. Right now, he slots into their wide receiver 3, probably pass catching option number 4 behind Cole Kmet, which is probably a good spot for him. But you could even just strengthen it a little bit more.
You can never have too many horses in the stable, doggy. That's just straight up. That's how it goes, man. Right? There's guys, you can find, but you can also find an Alec Pierce from Cincinnati that's playing well with the Colts, Indianapolis Colts, right? It's not impossible. I'm just throwing out all the scenarios on the why. Why did they do that? You move up so you can be in the driver's seat, right? Chicago Bears, they're in the driver's seat now is because now they have the stress off of them, but then they also have picks.
Ton of picks.
They got picks that go, okay, we can grab this guy and this guy. Now we can fill 2 holes, right, in the first round with guys. Now your scouting department got to get it right this time.
Yeah.
But you can fill 2 holes now with some really good players. And this is what in the draft process, this is what you call cheating. Here's cheating. Cheating is when you can get high production at a low cost without paying a premium. So look, we're going to get a young talent that will hopefully get us 1,000 yards, that will get us potentially a Pro Bowler or a good blocker. And then all of a sudden, we don't have to pay him $30 million a year. At least not right now. Because now we can move around some money And when his time is up, we could try to negotiate, and we try to negotiate earlier so we could get a little bit of what they call a hometown discount because you're still under contract and you know he still wants to get paid. Whereas in free agency, you're gonna overpay. Right? Let's look at some wide receivers that people are gonna have to overpay with, and it's not a great wide receiver group,
no,
right?
It's not.
So right now, the number one wide receiver in free agency when it starts is Jacoby Myers.
The legend.
Number two, Juju Smith-Schuster, OBJ, DJ Chark, Alan Lazard, Paris Campbell, Nicole Hartman, Darius Slayton, Jarvis Landry. Number 10, Julio Jones. Sterling Shepard, he's hurt. Robert Woods, but he's off. He's at the Texans.
Shepard just
Marvin
resigned,
Jones.
too.
Oh, okay. So he's off. Mac Hollins, Randall Cobb, and then at the bottom, number 18, Nelson Aguilar. That is the free agents, right? And then now you have Adam Thielen.
Yeah, and Robert Woods is already with the Texans too, so that's one.
He's already with the Texans. But listen to this, okay? Wide receivers, teams that need wide receivers. Chicago, no wide receiver with 50-plus receptions in 2022, okay? The Colts, they're losing Paris Campbell. Atlanta Falcons, rookie Drayton London, led the team with 866. The Tennessee Titans, bottom 3 in receiving, yards, touchdowns by a wide receiver. The New England Patriots both are losing Myers and Aguilar to free agency. The Los Angeles Chargers, based on they missed the combined 11 games in 2022 with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. New York Giants only had one wide receiver with 50-plus, and that was Richie James.
Mm-hmm.
Darius Slayton, he could run. I don't know, and I didn't look up, but the reason I didn't look it up is because when I think contested catches, Darius Slayton is not the guy that ding, 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 ding. Okay? Honorable mention. I think OBJ, the best place for OBJ is the Cowboys. He doesn't have to be the number one wide receiver. He has an established quarterback, an offense where he could thrive. He could be the number one some days and be the number 2, right? Michael Gallup, I just think he could thrive where he's not the focal point at his age right now after 2 ACL and allowing him to get back to football shape. Minnesota Vikings, outside of with them now releasing Adam Thielen, outside of Justin Jefferson, right? But I also think they got some in-house guys that are going to surprise them. We'll talk about those guys later. Mm-hmm. The Bills, they have their number 3 or their slot wide receiver. They don't trust. They brought back Cole Beasley. They tried 14 different dudes out in that position at slot, and still all 13 of them, they're still trying to figure out who else can we get. The Chiefs.
Oh yeah.
But I think they're figuring it out. And then the Browns.
Because the free agent wide receiver market, as it stands now, obviously around camp time, there will be cuts and surprise guys will hit. But right now you can't plan for that. So because of how lackluster this wide receiver class is, do you think the price tag on DeAndre Hopkins and Brandon Cooks goes up in terms of trade?
Yeah. Absolutely. If you look at reviews, they're saying that the Arizona Cardinals are asking way too much.
Right.
Because they know the market. Hey. Cash is king, playboy. Right? And when you have a commodity that the market is now oversaturated. The market is thirsty.
And I think this the NFL knew this offseason was coming. I think that's why you saw so much wide receiver movement last offseason and why you saw even so many get drafted in the first and second round. There was a stretch, especially in the second, where it was just pick after pick after pick after pick.
You're gonna see a lot of receivers, second, third round. Man, people are gonna reach because they want their guy.
Mm-hmm.
And look, sir, I was at the combine. I'm gonna tell you, there's some guys in this draft, they're gonna slide. Like all these measurables that like how Anthony Richardson is moving up because of his athleticism. Let me tell you, all these guys, and you can go back and y'all can pick up what I'm laying down. Some of these guys that y'all deem as super athletic, let me tell you, there's some people that said they had horrible. They were athletic before they went to the combine, and guess what? Teams are like, they ain't as athletic as they thought. Killed a lot of roaches on that field if you pick up what I'm laying down. There's a few wide receivers in at that combine that their stock dropped. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, at what point, like, how often are guys running fake mock combines, like, with their agents?
A ton.
So why are they hoping, like, maybe today's the day he does better? Why? Because you see guys sit out certain things. Why not?
This may sound stupid. I think every podcast we do is great.
Yeah.
Because it's our product. So you think it's great. You never go. Rappers, songwriters. Man, we've heard some music and we go, did no one in that room go, bro, this was terrible.
Sure, but even those are more opinion based. You have the numbers here. You know what I mean? You have
some are opinion based, but yet even in that opinion based, you've seen some of these guys in these rooms where you're like, man, they're all bobbing their head. And then you're going, how? No one said, hey, bro, this is not a banger. What?
Well, there's like the performance enhancing drugs that cause everyone to be like, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Even when you're high, you still got to feel. Oh, man. Look, drunk, whatever you are, you've tasted a bad sandwich in your day. Right?
Definitely.
You're like, mayonnaise and marmalade? Oh, no.
Yeah. What were they cooking? Yeah, what's going on here? Yeah,
yes. Who thought that was a good idea?
This is Bandit. He founded Underdog Fantasy so that humans who really love sports could play with their friends and win some big prizes. Tell your human to go to UnderdogFantasy.com today.
You brought up Odell.
Yep.
Obviously, he just had his workout in front of the whole league.
A few teams went. Yeah. No, not the whole league. A few teams went. I think it was about 10 to 12 teams went.
I think it was 12, but I think other people had some other ways to find out what happened there. Do you think it's more beneficial for him that he did sit out the whole year and didn't try and fully ramp up to play the last? I know it wasn't his choice. But
he tried to, but they had they did a physical and said, hey, buddy, you're not ready.
But that even physically had to slow him down because he wasn't. Some teams cut corners. They're like, hey, we're going to do this anyways. But do you think it was beneficial for his body coming into this year where he truly had a full 15 months?
I don't know. Because was he resting his body or his body was forced to rest?
Is there a difference?
Oh, huge difference, right? You're rested because you choose not to, right? That's like some guys who haven't been playing in 2 years talking about, I'm retiring. Oh, really? You retiring? You ain't been on a team in 2 years. Didn't know you were retiring. Know why you haven't been on a team? That's none of our business. But the fact of the matter is you aren't on a team. Mm-hmm. Odell had a knee injury. He wasn't 100%. And the teams that I heard interviewed him, it's like, bro, he can't play. He can't be the Odell that we're hoping for him to be and give us that spark heading into the playoffs. So why are we going to sign him?
Right.
Some people say, well, I'll take a 70% Odell than some of the guys we have. Okay, but what about the corners he's going against? They ain't 70%.
Right. Do you think it would be beneficial to him to wait and see where, like, a DeAndre Hopkins gets traded? Because you were saying he shouldn't be a number one somewhere,
no,
but there's so many teams desperate for multiple, not even just one.
You're talking about two different wide receivers.
I'm talking about them teaming
styles.
up. Right, that's what I mean.
No, I'm just talking about two different styles. They're both alphas, right?
Okay.
And they obviously run different routes. D-Hop is intermediate. Odell is a route technician, get over the top, blow the top off the coverage. So they're just two different styles. And so you have to have, you also have to have an offense that also, you don't have to rebuild, but those types of styles of wide receivers that you have. And generally, you don't have those two guys, that type of caliber on the same team.
Last year, it was the Chiefs couldn't take George Pickens because they had MVS. You can't have guys playing the same style. Now you can't have guys playing different styles.
You seem frustrated with him.
I'm confused, not frustrated.
And that's the part as the fans that you got to understand. Each person, you have, right? There's a best analogy I could put. It may not make sense, but I like food, right? There are two apples. One's an Apple Crisp, one's a Granny Smith. Which one do you use for a good old-fashioned grandma apple pie?
The green one.
Why? Is that because, right? Using your analogy, is that because you just choose to? Or is that because that's the standard in which we all have conform to, right? I'm using some of the people off our show last, off the Lamar. It's like, oh, that's BS. We'll talk about. Here's what I heard. Just a little sidetrack. I heard this. There's another guy that used to be on a Baltimore Raven that has management. That's his advisor, and that team did not tag him. They are letting him hit free agency because his advisor and him don't understand what his market is. He believes his market is here. They're saying, bro, we aren't going to pay you that. He won't come off that. They've been trying to do the deal for 2 years, won't come off of it. I'm not talking about Lamar.
Right.
He won't come off of it. So they're letting him go to free agency. So free agent the market can actually tell the person who's in the market, hey, buddy, here's your market value.
Right.
Because when you represent yourself, you don't have people telling you, or you don't have you are the answer. So you go, man, I know my value. I do too. I know my value. I think my value as a television guy is here. But my contract is here. So guess what? You're either going to get a contract at here, or you're going to keep getting we're not interested, Steve, at that price. So again, go back to my analogy. A green Granny Smith apple is what you use to make it. Now, is it possible to use a Fiji, Honey Crisp, all the other ones?
A lot of apples.
Right? There's like ton of apples.
Too many.
Yes.
But I guess to build off your analogy, if I want to be the best baker, chef possible, don't I want both in my kitchen?
No. And I say no is because one may be a very messy chef. One may be OCD, and it's still tight quarters. And so that space does not deem that you can have a messy chef, or that space may not deem that he may be left-handed. And all you have is right-handed equipment. So are you going to invest all this money for left-handed equipment? And then all of a sudden he cuts his finger off. He's not able to work for the next 17 weeks. And now you got all this brand new left-hand equipment that no one can use but this guy who's not able to work. And that's the investment part that you have to factor in. Right? And I mean, you got a guy who can push the top off the covers. You got a guy who's a route technician. But then you also may have a younger, cheaper version of a route technician who's needing his opportunity. And so now if you bring in D-Hop, now you're a young guy, you dwarf his growth. Now you're wasting money.
Sure, yeah, I'm not advocating for that. Teams that need wide receivers, because it does seem like, especially these past 2 years, the teams you've seen taking the largest jumps are the ones who have gone and got not just one, but two dynamic receivers. Either they already had one and they added one, or they went out and got two in the same offseason. So that's where I'm like, if there's truly a team with that many holes for the wide receiver position, and Odell, you don't necessarily want him to be your one, try and pair him up with another one, and he can be your 1B or 2 if that's where he is at the stage of his career.
Yes, but understanding when you have a 1A or 1B, somebody's going to suffer, bro.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Somebody's not going to. Right? I'll give you an example. Jacksonville, they made that trade for Calvin Ridley. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because he has the speed that Christian Kirk doesn't, Zay Jones does it, and Marvin Jones does it. They have three of the same people lined up, which is why Evan Ingram, who can run, played so well in that offense, because he's their threat guy, their speed guy. And so that's why they said, hey, we need a speed guy. And so Calvin Ridley is our guy next year, because now he adds an extra element that we don't have. You don't want to have a room full of the same people.
Agreed.
And you also don't want to go out and spend and buy, right? Like the Colts need a wide receiver. That doesn't mean they should go trade for D-Hop, because the Colts aren't winning anything.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Right? They're not. Arizona Cardinals, they aren't winning anything even though they thought they were. When they traded for him, when they picked up A.J. Green, the receiver, not A.J. Green, the corner.
Right.
There's a corner that picked up and said, A.J. Green signed with the Brett. Huh? It's a corner. So they had A.J. Green, D-Hop, Rondale Moore, signed J.J., and what'd they do? Didn't even make the playoffs, bro. So just because you sign a dynamic player doesn't mean you're going to get dynamic results.
For sure. That's where it comes down to the chef to stay in the kitchen. You know what I mean?
Or the management team.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Right? The management team got to give the chef they got to order the right supplies.
But if you're GM Steve, which of these wide receivers, your team needs a wide receiver, which one do you feel most comfortable overpaying of this group? Not trade.
Well, you're gonna have. Well, so you're gonna have to overpay. That's right. That's the problem, right? So here's the guys you're gonna have to overpay for. You're gonna have to overpay for DJ Chark. You're gonna have to overpay for Mecole Hardman. Mm-hmm. Darius Slay, you're gonna have to overpay for. I think Jacoby Myers you're going to have to overpay for.
Who you like the most comfortable of that group? Obviously, they're going to come in.
It depends on it depends on the team. So give me some teams, and then I could tell you.
I'm trying to think of teams. Like the
Here's
Chargers,
what I would say.
the San Diego, or the LA Chargers.
They already have speed. They got they have their speed.
With them, I feel like it's not even necessarily a stylistic type as much as it is just a guy who's going to go out and play 17 games for you.
So for the Chargers, they already have Keenan Allen.
Yep.
They already have Mike Williams. A guy that I can see for the Chargers, there's a few guys. DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, right? Guys who are not starters. Mm-hmm. Guys that you could plug and play them outside, inside. I think they also have Josh Palmer, too.
Yep.
He's a young guy that they're still developing. So I would say a veteran guy that you can – he understands his role. How about that?
Okay.
Alan Lazard does not understand his role. He's trying to get paid and he's trying to play, which is understandably so. He's trying to ball.
Right.
He's tired if they keep drafting all these players and not giving me an opportunity. Right? I say Paris Campbell.
What about the 49ers? I feel like they could use one.
Alan Lazard, bro. I like Alan Lazard. I could say DJ Chark.
Chark would be scary.
Yeah.
The Carolina Panthers.
I like Adam Thielen.
Is that just a good guy for a rookie to have?
Yeah, because he's dependable. Mm-hmm. He knows where he needs to be at all times. He's mastered his craft. Right? That's the one thing you want a young quarterback is. You want a quarterback to, when he gets in a pickle, he knows he has one or two guys that he can rely on. And that's usually either a wide receiver and a tight end.
I was going to say, Gesicki's available, right? Yeah, he's available. Mm-hmm. How about him
I like Gesicki.
For Carolina?
Yep, I like Gesicki. So I think Adam Thielen would be great because he's also in that age where he can actually give some of the younger guys in there. Try to hopefully develop Shi Smith. Terrence Marshall Jr., he's shown that big target, a little bit of speed. That you can help him, right? And whatever draft pick you're gonna get, right? You got a really intense dog mentality, old school coach Sean Jefferson. Right, and then the offense that they're going to be running, you got to have some guys. You got to have layers and levels, speed, intermediate, check down, to be able to have that offense to be able to hit all the buttons, check all the boxes. So you need an old head, young head, intermediate. You need all walks of life in that room. You need some young, naive. And you need the old, cautious, weary dog. Hey, watch out. You're going to die over there. You know, you need somebody that's he's always like, hey, be careful. No running in the halls, right? You need that. Because you don't want all speed or all intermediate. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what they had with DJ Moore is all intermediate.
So there will be more wide receivers traded. Already guys rumored, already guys saying, I think so. I just want to be where I'm wanted, tweeting that.
Yeah,
out.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, guys are saying, I just want to be where I'm wanted. I mean, that's the new trend.
If let's for the sake of argument say they all go for the same price. They're all the same amount of picks back. Would you rather bring in Brandon Cooks, Hopkins, or Cortland Sutton?
Cortland Sutton, I would say Cortland Sutton needs to stay where he is. Go back, Cortland Sutton, here's an announcement. Go back and watch Sean Payton and see what he did with Marcus Colston. Mm-hmm. And I'll let you know why you should stay. Marcus Colston was not a burner. Cortland Sutton was never a burner, always got to 50-50. You throw the ball before his injury, it was 70. It wasn't even 50-50. It was 75 Cortland Sutton, 25 your corner.
Mm-hmm.
With his knee, I think now he could still win a 50-50 ball, but he doesn't have that speed. But he has one of the best innovative coordinators right now, Sean Payton, who will get the best out of every receiver group. He substitutes wide receivers in groups like no one's business. If you used to watch him with the New Orleans Saints, Devery Henderson, Robert Meacham, look how the tight end, Jimmy Graham, look what he did for Jimmy Graham's career. All these different guys. If I'm Cortland Sutton, I sit back another year with Sean Payton. Now you got to get Russell Wilson, got to get all that stuff out of the way and get him back to being. The other thing that people are not giving it, you know what people are not doing? Man, we need to tip our hat off to, man, Pete Carroll was dealing with a lot of stuff underneath this Russell Wilson rock. We're not talking about that. Russell Wilson keep getting his hall pass, but Russell Wilson seemed like the stories that are coming out. Talk about wide receivers are divas.
Yeah.
Whatever quarterback coach he had in that building, he needs to fire him because that dude was awful. He didn't help him one bit.
Yeah, Pete Carroll kept the ship.
Pete Carroll was doing a lot of stuff to cater to Russell Wilson. And look at Geno Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's an indictment on Geno Smith of what he hasn't been really coached, or is it the fact that they were able to open up the playbook with Geno Smith that they were incapable of doing with Russell Wilson?
They definitely felt more balanced on offense this year. And obviously Kenneth Walker helped, and Penny, before he went down, was running well.
He's a free agent.
Penny is now?
Yeah, he's a free agent.
Yeah. Well, I think they'll be okay. Oh, yeah, the Panthers have a free agent running back here, too. Deontay Foreman. Do you think it would be good to bring him back? Obviously, Chuba looks good as well.
It just depends on what his asking price is. Right? The Panthers were before March 7th, they were over the cap $15 million, so they had to restructure some guys. Then also, too, structurally, they lose the huge $20 million cap hit with DJ Moore being on the team. Mm-hmm. Now, all of that goes. I think there's a little bit of cap hit, but not as much. Let me see.
It might even hit next year. Like it might not even hit.
Yeah, it's a small cap hit. It's not a huge cap hit.
Right.
Right. They're not off. They're not completely. They're not off of it completely, but it is different. Right. Oh, Kenny Golladay is available. Richie James, Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, I feel like Richie James is better than a couple of these guys in the top 18 that we talked about already.
Yeah. Jamison Crowder. Mm-hmm. T.Y. Hilton's available. 33 years old, 12th year. He's limited in his route running right now, though. Sammy Watkins.
Why are the Los Angeles Rams not able to recoup more when they trade players out? They obviously pay top dollar when they're trying to trade for guys. I was shocked when they only got a third and a third-year tight end for Jalen Ramsey.
Well, because the Rams are strapped for cash and they need the draft picks and they need the money to move around. They're having to it's either do I let them go or do I trade them, right? And so if you release a guy, what do you get in return for a release? Nothing.
Right.
So a third-round pick is better than no pick.
For sure, but it just shocks me. And I know it seems like they worked with him a little bit to get him to a place he wanted to go, which, honorable by them. Does that matter? So if you're a free agent and a team's willing to trade you to its preferred destination, does that matter to you?
I mean, it does, but that's also the fantasy land. Not every player is treated the same.
No, of course.
Yeah. So I mean, but it does give you hope and optimism that the team is, they're not completely narrow-minded and not going to work with me. Also, Jalen Ramsey is switching to safety too.
Oh yeah.
He's not playing corner. Not at 100% role. He may be playing more safety. He wasn't a speedster. He is a speedster. It takes him a long time to build up, and so that doesn't always work well for you as a corner.
Sure, he's fast, not quick.
Yes,
yeah.
But he can still play. He still has a great football IQ, and so this is a great move. You put Jalen with now Hollins. Man, that back half is pretty darn good.
Yeah, and Xavier Rhodes had, or not Xavier Rhodes, excuse me.
Look at you getting confused.
No, it's Xavier.
Yes. I'm not the only one. You're talking about Xavier Howard.
Howard, yes, thank you. He had an uncharacteristically down year last year too. Like the Dolphins.
I believe he was. I think he was dinged up.
Yeah.
Most of the year.
Yeah. But it was like that Dolphins defense. They went out. They got Bradley Chubb in the middle of last year. So I would expect it to look leaps and bounds better than it did last year.
Hope so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think still got to get the quarterback situation figured out.
Just healthy. When he was in there, they were as good as anybody.
Well, I know. I'm saying that's figured out.
Oh, sure.
It's not all. I don't think it's all. He can't play and all that stuff.
Right. If there's one non-receiver on this list, is there anyone that's a free agent right now who
that's a good question.
Maybe isn't getting a lot of attention, but you think could really help a team? For me, just for an example, it's a guy like Bobby Okereke, linebacker from the Colts. I think it's crazy that he's even hitting free agency. I think he's super undervalued, and I think he'd help a lot of teams. I'm not saying he can play in any scheme. That's not something I've looked too deeply into. I just know his talent and his impact feels infectious. It feels like when that Colts defense is really humming, he's making a lot of plays.
Yeah. I agree with you. For me, this running back and tight end is going to be interesting. Right? Let me go over the list. 1 through 16. Josh Jacobs tagged. Barkley tagged, Pollard tagged. Now here, 4 through 16. Miles Sanders, David Montgomery, Devin Singletary, Jamal Williams. Freeman, Hunt, Harris, McKinnon, Jeff Wilson Jr. if he could stay healthy. Rashad Penny. I just put nope. N-O-P-E. Nope. For Rashad Penny.
Because of health?
Yes.
Okay.
Mostert and Shamar Perine. Man, David Montgomery is interesting. Miles Sanders is interesting. Jamal Williams is extremely interesting. Gerald McKinnon. There's a few guys in this running back category, right? They all do different things, and they all don't have certain attributes. Right? Like David Montgomery he's not a guy catching the ball out of the backfield. But Devin Singletary is.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams is not.
No.
Right? But Jeff Wilson Jr., but can he stay healthy?
All right.
So there's a few guys, man, that's like this running back. And with that also tells me some of these guys are going to have to take a pay cut.
I've also seen it floated. Dalvin Cook may get cut by the Vikings.
Yeah, because the Vikings are in trouble with salary cap.
Yeah. They're talking about trading Kirk. They're talking about cutting Dalvin. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with the Vikings right now.
Well, hey, Money make you do a lot of funny things, man.
Mm-hmm.
Got that funny money. And also huge dead space and cap, dead money and cap, man. That's right. You're leveraging, like you're leveraging tomorrow and all the tomorrows. And then you're also going, well, is this person going to help me today?
Mm-hmm.
And they can help me today, but are they going to help me get over the hump to the Super Bowl? And next year's issue, you don't know how it's going to go because this year's team is needing someone. Like some teams are going to need a quarterback, right? Because here's a quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Brissett, Baker Mayfield, Teddy Bridgewater, Gardner Minshew, Marcus Mariota, Andy Dalton, and Taylor Heineke. Those are the quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to pay top dollar for a guy to maybe be okay, or you move up in the draft and you do your homework and you say, man, we got this guy. Jimmy Garoppolo goes on a team that's ready to win today. We go back and look at those guys, right? Does Jimmy Garoppolo go to the Houston Texans? No. Does he go to the Arizona Cardinals?
No.
Because Jimmy wants to play.
Right.
He's not there just for a stopgap. Does he go to the Colts?
Maybe.
Okay. Are the Colts going to win?
I think if you're in his position, you think you can win that division.
Correct. Okay. So if that's the case, I'll go to Tennessee there.
Ooh. I don't know. Who has better weapons?
Tennessee.
Who they throw to that's better than Pittman?
It doesn't matter. They have an identity that you know about.
That's
Colts,
handing the ball off, though. Their identity is handing the ball off.
Okay, but they have an identity. You're going to the Colts, you don't know. They got a new head coach. See, a new general manager is totally different.
Sure, yeah.
Than a new head coach.
But Isn't that almost better if I'm a quarterback, I can almost dictate what that identity is?
Not at this stage in life. No, I'm good. No. No.
Tell me what to do, where to be, I'll be there. Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett. They're saying Mr. Mayfield is going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
So there's going to be a bidding war between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the LA Rams for Baker Mayfield, which feels insane.
I don't think it'll be a bidding war.
Listen, if there's two teams, there's bidding, maybe a bidding skirmish, a bidding fist fight, maybe not a full-on war, but
Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, it's tough. Teddy's still
Gardner
younger
Minshew.
than everyone realizes, but it's just tough. Gardner Minshew. I feel like he had the worst possible outcome. If he had just sat all last year, I feel like people are talking about him like, Gardner Minshew is available, but then they saw him play with maybe the best team in the league and did not go well. So that was a tough couple week stretch for Gardner. Hurt his pockets for sure.
Lifetime. Well, right now, as of today, seeming like his direction is going lifetime backup.
Which is a great
job. Can they change? A great job until that backup is playing. Marcus Mariota and Andy Dalton.
Give me Dalton. If those are my two choices, give me Dalton. At least Dalton literally won't genuinely quit on the team, which Mariota did last year.
See, he didn't. I got some information he did.
Okay.
He did.
Okay.
He didn't quit on the team. Taylor Heineke.
Definitely a quarterback who's available. Like most of these guys, they're quarterbacks that are available to be hired in the NFL. It's a grim
Hey,
list.
how about this? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The tight ends: Dalton Schultz, Mike Gesicki, Hayden Hurst, Austin Hooper, Irv Smith Jr., 9 million-year-old Mercedes Lewis.
You guys was he in your draft class? He genuinely might have been.
I think he was. I think he was a year after, but Mercedes Lewis is baller. I like Mercedes Lewis.
Well, just what a career. Just
Yeah, what a great career. Foster Marone he was with the Raiders. I think Dalton Schultz, Mike Gesicki, and Hayden Hurst and Austin Hooper are going to set the market, and then everybody else will follow.
yeah.
Whoever signed Schultz and Gesicki, whoever signs those two guys first, then it's going to be a significant drop off. Then he'll set the market for all these other guys.
I think there's going to be a team out there that thinks Minnesota was underutilizing Irv Smith Jr. and give him a bigger role. Whether or not he's ready for that, I have no idea. But I think a team's going to think that way.
Yeah, I thought he'd play better too. He just never. Irv Smith and O.J. Howard.
Yeah.
Those two guys never could really put my finger on it.
Yeah, O.J. Howard, I've never been able to make sense of. When he was coming out of Alabama, there were multiple people who wrote he's the best overall football player in this draft. And I understood it at the time because he was an extremely good blocker. And when he got the ball at Alabama, he seemed to score every time he touched it, 3 or 4 times a year. And I mean, he was on the Bills last year in preseason, and they couldn't move him fast enough.
I saw him in preseason when I was out there filming my show, and there's a few times like I saw a player running around his tight end. And then when I saw him, I was like, oh, and then all of a sudden my mind was just like, he's one of those guys. I don't know if he loves football because I've never talked to him, but I do think that he loves what football can provide for him. Right? He's never really took that step that you've thought he was going to take that step.
Yeah.
And there's a number of reasons why, but all I can say is watching him practice for that little bit of time, I was like, okay. I understand why the box isn't checked.
Yeah, and that's a lot. There's guys like that on every team, I would imagine. Multiple.
Yeah. I mean, there's guys who the business of it takes the love away, and I get it. Right? And but sometimes when you just come to work to do it, you give off that vibe sometimes.
Right.
So, but yeah, man.
I think it opens at noon today, right? Today or tomorrow, free agency?
I think today. I don't remember.
How many of these deals have been agreed upon for a couple weeks, maybe a month now?
A ton of them. I wouldn't say a week. I would say the last couple of days.
Okay.
Like this weekend, you got a hint. Hey, we're thinking about this guy. We're thinking about this guy. This guy's interested. This guy's not. And then there's like somebody gets released and you go, oh, hey, we didn't know about this guy. Or you hear, oh, this guy's available. So it's going to be a lot of moving pieces.
Mm-hmm. Are there any teams out there who earnestly wait for 12 to start?
It's not teams. It's how the agents are going, right? The agents have a hint of what teams are looking for, like what they're looking at, right? Because you can have a guy like DJ Moore. He's a guy. Do you want him on your team? Yes. But does he fit in the offense the way you want it to go? Do we want a quarterback or a receiver? Do we want a receiver in 3 years? We're going to be like, hey, we need to restructure your deal. Or do we want a quarterback that can set our franchise moving forward that we haven't had in a very long time?
I don't know how this didn't come up earlier. Is there a guy you like at the top of the draft right this second? more so than someone else. So a quarterback you hope is wearing Carolina blue.
Here's a guy I don't want
Okay.
to go on the top 4 because I don't think he's that guy. Right? And we'll get into it. I don't know necessarily that Anthony Richardson is getting this Cam Newton comparison because Cam didn't rise up when he went to the combine.
Right.
You already kind of knew what player he was. We'll get into it later, but here's the thing. When I think of Florida and the University of Florida, and I look at Anthony Richardson, it took him this long to start because they had a first overall pick or first round quarterback years before? No. Right? I look at why a guy isn't starting. Why did it take him this long to start? And who was in front of him? You're telling me all the guys that were in front of Anthony Richardson right now are in the NFL?
Right.
I think one of the guys is a tight end now. They switched him to tight end.
Felipe Franks.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so does Anthony Richardson has the most ceiling, but he also has the most floor. And you generally don't have, when you have that much gap, man, that's a tough gamble. Somebody's going to get fired off that gamble if it doesn't work out. Or somebody's going to be deemed the smartest guy ever.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. We talk about it a lot, but these coaches do think they're the smartest guy, and these scouts do think they're the smartest. So I think there is enough with Anthony Richardson where you could get a really good player there. I agree that Cam, this is why I hate comparisons, because the Cam was one of the best high school players in the country. He was on that Florida team sitting behind maybe the best college quarterback of all time, at least in terms of winning.
Well, he was sitting behind Chris Leak.
Right, yes. And Tim Tebow, yeah.
And Tim Tebow, and then there was Cam Newton. Right.
And then he ends up at Auburn on a roster.
Goes to junior college.
Yes,
Junior college, comes to Auburn.
Goes to Auburn.
And played great.
With
right? But
one other NFL player on the roster, and it was a defensive tackle. And they went undefeated and won the national championship. Not exactly the Anthony Richardson career. Not quite how it went. But could he be Josh Allen? I think that's where some people are like, all right, well, he didn't play high D1 football at all.
Yeah, but there's some throws Josh Allen has made, and there's some throws Anthony Richardson has not made, and some of it has to do with technique, footwork. But we'll get into that once I do his pro day. I got his pro day, so I come back. Once I do, I actually have all the guys pro day except Will Levis, because I think it's the same day. I have Anthony Richardson pro day, C.J. Stroud's pro day, and Bryce Young's pro day.
And this,
so after I do,
this was on the books before the Panthers traded for one. This isn't
absolutely.
This isn't let's send 89 to do some scouting.
This isn't co-wiki. This was intentional. I put in my request, got it, they accepted it, and so now how this is playing out is I've already got my list of the pros and cons of what I see out of these guys. Then when I see them at the draft, at their pro day, then I get to add and subtract and all that stuff. So I'm going to do a breakdown on which guy I like and why.
Which, what really stands out at a pro day that you don't see?
Footwork.
Okay.
Like, man, what stands out is footwork. Man, I was at Ritter's pro day. He didn't do a great job. And some of the stuff I'm seeing him now, he's still not doing a great job.
Yeah.
So
is it more you're looking?
I'm just confused.
You're looking for negatives
I'm
more
confused.
than positives, because it's like if you're bad,
if
you're bad in that situation, you're probably not going to be great on an NFL field.
I'm letting his pro day and his film tell me to build my opinion.
Okay.
It is not, I don't like this guy. This is what I'm concerned about, and here's why. Like all my reviews on players has nothing to do of my personal opinion about them because I don't know them personally.
Right.
I'm watching them from afar. I've never met them. Like some of these guys that I'm watching film on, I've never met them in person. Or I did meet him in passing. I met Tank Dell at the combine. I can't tell you what kind of character he is.
Right,
we talked football a little bit, had a good conversation. We both smiled, dapped each other up. I'm not walking back going, man, that's Mother Teresa right there. I'm also not walking away going, where's my wallet? I think he's a thief. I don't know. I met him 5 minutes of my life. It was cordial. It was business. I walked away, went to sleep. Didn't screw up my sleep pattern. I didn't wake up going, I have to meet him again, right?
If one of the top corner prospects pickpocketed you and you didn't notice till hours later, he'd immediately be my number one corner in the draft. Immediately. That
would be fantastic if he did that. The only part he'd be extremely disappointed because I had nothing in my pockets though. So if he pickpocketed me, all he got is lint. So speaking of lint, this is a story from back home. One of my boys, what's his name? Billy Nash. Was it Billy Nash? Yeah, Billy Nash. Man, Billy ran up on, we were in high school, and the dude had a gun. He said, hey, show me the lint. He's like, lint? He was like, ninja, show me the inside of your pockets.
Yeah,
that's what he told him. Billy was like, I know exactly what that is.
So this is a robbery.
So when you said that,
you got a gun in my face. You don't need to have like your own catchphrase. Like, you know.
He said, hey, let me see the lint. And Billy was like, lint? Like, what are you talking about?
Checks his watch.
Let me see the inside of your pocket. That boy got ripped. Oh, yeah. I know what you mean.
Why'd you just say that then? Oh, wasting both our times here.
It was like random. It was in L.A. by high school, man. Random. It was like a random 9 o'clock in the morning. Or it's like, it was either early in the morning or late in the afternoon after practice. My boy got ran up on. The new kids call him pulled up on, but hey, that boy got daylight robs time.
Face out and everything.
He said, let me see the lint. Lint? Let me see you inside of your pocket.
My dryer's at home. I don't know what you want.
Well, all right. So we're going to end on that one. Hey, I'm Steve Smith Sr.
Coley, Mick.